Welcome to the AutoMax channel and welcome back to the workshop. Today our hands are clean, no tools involved. We're just going to sit down with a cup of tea and have a little chat about the Nissan Micra. So the question is, where do we go from here with the Micra? But before that, how did we get here with the Micra? Now we got here in 2008, 2009 with that yellow Micra just over my shoulder. I'll put some footage on now if we've got any. And we did rally it for quite a few events, so there should be some somewhere. Bud, the number plate was, can't quite see it there, 847 Bud, I think it was. But yeah, that's where it all started, and that's where this story came along. So the idea was to recreate what I did back in 2008, 2009, when I first went proper stage rallying. I dabbled in a little bit of road rallying before that. We'll probably get into that another time, but the first car I rallied on a competitive road rally was a Proton. I hired that off a good friend of mine, Nobby, who a lot of you probably know in rallying circles, especially road rallying circles. So I hired that for my first rally, and then obviously the bug well and truly set in. So I bought a Honda Civic. I might have some pictures of that, which I'll stick on now. An EG Honda Civic. That was the first competition car, apart from banger racing cars, that I ever built. And I was really quite proud of it because it was very reliable. It finished all but 2 events, and one was driver error. That was an accident. And what was the other one? I think we went OTL on one of them, and we just ended up going home. I never had a retirement due to a mechanical failure as such. So I was quite proud of that. And then once I'd got the road rallying, once I'd enjoyed that, the main aim was to go stage rallying. So the cheapest way to do that was to buy a Nissan Micra. Hence why we used one on the channel. So the idea of the channel, to start with, was to show you how you can go rallying on a budget, if you like. So I mirrored what I did back then. And what I did was I bought that Nissan Micra, the yellow one, Bud. I bought that as a car that had been out of competition for maybe a year and a half, 2 years, something like that. So it needed a little bit of fettling, needed a little bit of updating, and it needed a few new parts just to get it competition ready, if you like. But I knew about that car because when I worked with Jeff Jones, who you've heard about on the channel, that was one of the cars I looked after. So when I first started, nearly every event, I was in charge of the Nissan Micras, and there was 3 or 4 of them at one point, as well as other cars. There was Subarus, Escorts, Citroens, all sorts of things. But when I first started, my main job was looking after the Micras, so I got to know them quite well. That's where I thought, right, let's go back to 2008, 2009, and recreate that with buying this one, which, as you know from following the channel and following the build of this, I bought it as a car that was a little bit out of date and needed updating. And then we've showed you how to turn it from a gravel car to a tarmac car. We've done a tarmac rally, we've done testing, we've done gravel rally, we've done gravel testing, we've done the suspension, done a bit of re-prepping. We've done quite a lot with it. Maybe there was more I could have showed you with the car, of stripping it down and doing other things, but we took a fast track to showing you how to go rallying on a budget with a Nissan Micra. And what better car to do it with, really? This car, the reason I chose a Micra to start with is because I was working on them. One came up cheap, I'd heard about it. But not only that, I knew how good they were. They weren't the fastest thing. They've never been renowned for being very fast, but ultra reliable. In standard form, if you keep them relatively standard engine-wise, yes, you can do a few mods to make them a little bit quicker, but without putting big engines and sequential gearboxes and things like that in them and making them really super 1400 or super 1000, they're so strong and reliable. You can do so many rallies. Yes, rallying's expensive, but if you use one of these, it can be relatively cheap. The shafts, standard, are very strong. The bottom arms can be a little bit weak, but with a little bit of strengthening, they are very strong. The engine, they're on a timing chain, so the engine is bomb-proof. You can hold that on the limiter for, I don't know, about a month, and it'll probably be all right. clutches, gearboxes, things like that, you know, it's all quite cheap to change. The brakes on them, as long as you've got a good set of pads, you can get away with the standard Micra brakes. A lot of us upgrade them to a Honda 100NX caliper, but they're getting hard to get hold of now, because when was the last time you saw a 100NX on the road? But if you can get hold of them, you know, it's only a little bit bigger, but it just gives you that bit more braking power, if you like. Yeah, and then you do all the various mods to go rallying. So you do the suspension, which is not original, and then you put the cage in it. Tyres, specifically to what surface you're using. But yeah, it is a cheap way into rallying. If there ever was one, that is the cheapest way into rallying. And that's why I decided to recreate what I did back then. Now, so where am I going with this? I'm trying to tell you a little story about myself, how I got here, and why I chose the Micra. But also, this is probably the way out for the Micra. We're probably getting to the end of what we can do with this. I mean, yeah, I'm sure we could do more. We could change the engine, we could do more rallies, we could do things like that. But I've done that. I did that, and then I upgraded to another car. The obvious step then was to upgrade to a faster front-wheel drive car with a slightly different gearbox, so slightly upgraded, which is what I did using a Nissan Sunny GTI. I'm thinking, I've got the Subaru Impreza sat there, so should I just jump into that and start rallying, even though I've been rallying it? I'm not saying that, I'm just saying as a point of view from the channel, do you think you'd like to see us do the same thing as we did with this, but with the Impreza? Because that is going to be, there's quite a lot more costs involved in that, but you can see, we did a breakdown on this, you can see roughly how much this cost to rally. One thing I have noticed on the channel is that there's a lot of young people who have been following this story, the Micra story. I know we've digressed slightly into other things. I've kind of just gone wild with anything that comes in the workshop. We started filming it, but we kind of do come back to the Micra every now and again. So a lot of the young people asking about the Micra and following the Micra story, and hopefully that has influenced them to maybe do their own version of it. We had Lewis in the car back in June when he co-drove for me. He followed the channel and then got into rallying, and hopefully he's going to get in and drive himself once he's able to and get in the car, all based on what we did here. It maybe some of you like to know how I got here, like how I ended up being able to rally myself, because that isn't an easy route, because it's expensive. Not everybody's got disposable cash nowadays to go and do things like that, and I certainly didn't. I'm still, yes, maybe I've got a little bit more because I'm a little bit older now, but when I first started rallying, I didn't have any money. Rallying has almost turned to the elitist, so if you've got a lot of money, you can go rallying. If you haven't, then you stay at home or you go and watch it. That seems to be the case. The way I did it, if any of you are interested, what I did is I decided to turn my whole life into cars. Quickly through it, I started off, I left electrician, went to work for Jeff. I went on a self-employed basis, so I could actually work for whoever I wanted. So I was self-employed, a bit of a contractor if you like. Started off there, went to work for various other teams. We went all around the UK doing different things. Eventually went around all around Europe, some parts of the world, all on a self-employed basis, and all because I was involved in rallying and meeting people and talking to people, networking. That gave me access to different things, different jobs, and because I loved it so much, I was keen and I was willing to work, and the money was almost like came second, because it was just, the experience was great. Different hotels, meeting different people, and I'm still doing it today. Not as much maybe now, because that later turned into getting my own garage, get my own premises. We started off in a little workshop, just doing tyres, and that expanded then into an MOT station and where we are now. What I basically did, and still am doing, is turned my hobby into my job. So that helped with the rallying, because once I got my own business and went self-employed, I could put a lot of the rallying through the business as like an advertising thing and whatever. I'm not going to get into all the nitty-gritty stuff. I can do at some point if you like, but so that made it a lot easier for me. I knew people, I had friends, I could buy second-hand bits, second-hand tyres. I got discount on a few bits and did favours for people. I'll work for you and that'll pay for a set of tyres and things like that. And, you know, did a bit of wheeling and dealing. I was quite good at that, especially when I didn't have much money and I was trying to rally and earn a living and things. So, yeah, there's a lot of wheeling dealing going on, buying, selling things, doing that, swapping that, doing work for people, running around. So you get the idea. So that really helped with the rallying. So it meant I could go rallying and it didn't cost the earth. The main thing to buy was the vehicle, which I bought more or less done, like, as you know, like exactly what I did with this, basically. This story is exactly what I did back then. I just had a lot less money. Then we had co-drivers coming in who splitting the costs on entry fees. We started doing all right in the not Formula 1000, what was it then? It was Rally First Championship. So we won a set of brake pads here and there. We won some oils. We won a few little bits which went into the car. So we had a good little run. We had a few class wins. I think we had Welsh Championship win in our class and some other bits and bobs like that. And again in the Sunny we did the same. We're really unlucky in the Sunny. I remember the last round was the Wydene. I've never finished the Wydene. I retired on it. I've done it twice and I retired on it both times. So I need to cure that problem. But yeah, we burst a brake pipe which leaked onto the exhaust and went on fire, and we actually lost the championship because of that. That was really gutting. All I had to do was finish that rally. But as they say, that's rallying. I'm getting all excited now and I'm just talking about everything. But let me get back to where I was. So where was I? I was, so turning my job into, turning my career, my hobby into a job was in theory how I managed to go rallying. There is one thing that I will stress quite heavily is don't let it take over. I've seen so many people throw everything at rallying or competition. You get that sniff of a win or that sniff of any doing remotely good, and then you just want to spend more and more and more, and it does take over. So I was quite good at holding myself back a little bit. I knew I was never going to be a world championship rally driver. Malcolm wasn't going to be on the phone anytime soon. I just purely loved driving, and that's what you've got to try and remember. I remember doing one event, and the guys in our class, there was one guy, he was like, I don't like this rally. I'm just doing it just because it's part of the championship. That's the thing. Like if you don't like it, don't do it. Because at the end of the day, all we're chasing is a plastic trophy. This might go against that. This might not be good advice. But at the end of the day, you are just chasing a plastic trophy, and it is very expensive. As a little bit of advice, I'd say just keep it to what you can do. Do not go wild with it and spend all your money on chasing that plastic trophy. Like there's other ways of doing it. You can, if you have got some talent and somebody spots that and you get a good sponsor on board and you start doing things with sponsors and they're paying for your rallying, that's a different story. But if you're doing it all out your own pocket, which I was, then yeah, it's just not worth throwing everything at it. And I was quite good at holding myself back, and I also wanted to do other things, so other car-related things. So I always had it in my mind that this was just a hobby, so just keep it to a certain level, and that financially will be better off. Some people have lost houses, have lost all sorts of things over it, bankrupt themselves just to chase that rallying dream, which is very slim. But if, I'm not saying you can't do it. You can be very successful from throwing everything at rallying, but there is a way of doing it. You can't just go out there and waste all your money and hopefully that someone will go, he's fast. WRC car? Doesn't happen. Might be a controversial thing to say, but I would say if you are starting like we started, just remember to keep a cap on it. Don't go too far. It's also tempting, like if you have a retirement or an accident and you crash the car and you sit back and you go, I'm never doing this again. This just costs too much. And, it's just not worth it. As soon as you're back in the van, car's on the trailer, you haven't even left the service area, you're already planning the next rally. It's that addictive. So you can see how it happens. You also just want to go faster and faster. So not only do you want to do more rallies and spend more money on rallies, you also want to spend more money on the car because you want it to be faster. And you look at the times, you see someone else is only a couple of seconds quicker than you. Oh, I can get that if I put a new gearbox in it. I could get that if I take some more weight out of it. But that's cheap. Taking weight out of cars is cheap. But what I'm saying is heavily modifying the car to get that faster, and chasing does get quite addictive. So yeah, if there's any advice, I'd say just keep a cap on it, and that you'll enjoy your budget rallying that way. So yeah, this isn't a career advice video. It's just, it went hand in hand with when I started my career, I started rallying at the same time. So it was budget. It just made sense to go back to that and try and recreate it a little bit. And hopefully, maybe it's helped someone out there, like get an idea of how to do things. Like the build that we've done on this. I say build, we didn't really build it, but that's not what I did the first time. You know, it was the cheaper way was to buy a car that was already done, all the hard work done, and just improve it and get it up to date. That was the cheapest way of doing it. It was cheapest way back then, and it was the cheapest way now still. You know, you can build a car from scratch yourself if you want, and some people think, oh, if I build it myself, it'll be cheaper, but it definitely won't. It'll cost you twice as much to build it yourself. It's nice to build it yourself. Sometimes it can be a bonding thing. You can do it with your parents, or you can do it with your friends. But at the end of the day, that will cost you more doing it that way. So if you buy something that's more or less done, or at least all the hard work's done, then it just gives you that little bit of extra money then you can spend on improving it. And then you can take the money that you've saved to go and actually compete in it. Some people rather build in the cars more than actually competing in them. They build them to compete, but it's the build that some people like. But for me, it was just, I wanted to get out and compete. So I wanted to fast track myself to do that, but on a budget. And hopefully, like some of you may be influenced from this and do the same thing yourself. So yeah, don't take this as a career advice video. It just made sense that I tell you how I did things then, and it relates to this. So yeah, it's a bit of a personal thing. What I'm trying to say now is, this is probably the end of the Micra. So yeah, we've kind of had our time with the Micra now. It's probably time to sell it, and then we'll maybe move on to something else. As you know, the channel is nearly 2 years old now. We've bought and sold loads of different things. We've also rallied a few different things. But the Micra has always been there, hasn't it? You know, that's where it started. That was the first episode, was the Micra. And that was kind of the idea, really. I saw it come up for sale, and I thought, you know what? Let's make a little episode. Let's make a little YouTube video out of it and see how the channel goes, see if it works. I've done a little bit with Johnny Smith, and he also agreed that it would be a good idea. So yeah, that's where now down the line, organically we've grown to about 6,000 subscribers, which isn't bad. You know, we haven't really boosted anything. I could probably do some advice on how to grow this channel a bit more, maybe get some more views and some more subscribers, because I quite enjoy doing it, and I really enjoyed doing this Micra story and taking everyone along for it. I'd like to have done some more in-depth stuff and spent a bit more time on it, but it was really hard to film that, do your job, and produce an episode that that you can all watch, or produce more than what we've done anyway. So we kind of fast-tracked through it. Maybe in the future, if we get a bit more help, maybe we can do some episodes where we get a bit more in depth with some of the rally cars or some of the race cars or the projects and things like that. So like we skim quite fast through things, but I'm hoping that you get the idea, and I'm showing you the most important bits of doing these projects, or some that we start and don't finish. That is true, but sometimes that's the case. Sometimes you just have to cut your losses and not bother. But anyway, sadly, this episode is going to be the end of the Micra, and it's probably the last time you'll see it with us. Maybe someone else will have it, maybe another YouTuber will have it. We don't know, but he'll definitely be competing again because it's virtually ready to go. Once I fix that wing, it won't go like that. I'll fix the wing. Once I've done that, it'll be ready for someone else to take on. I just realised the bumper's cracked as well. I must have done that on the last event when I hit a bale. But so hopefully somebody else can enjoy the Micra and take it to the next step, or just enjoy it as it is, because again, it's a budget rally car. That's all you need, really. Just keep it like that. Just enjoy it. Do loads of rallies in it and enjoy it, then pass it on to the next person. That is definitely the way to go. And if anyone knows where Bud is, he went to South Wales somewhere in 2013, 14, something like that, and we never saw him since. I think he must be still in one piece, but he might be in a barn somewhere, but if anyone knows where he is, I probably would buy that back. And I might say that in a few years about this one, I'd probably buy that one back. But at the moment, we're going to let it go and we're going to move on to something else. So that's it. Just a little episode, a little bit of career advice maybe, and then a bit of a roundup of where we're going and where we've been and where we come from with the Micra. So the Micra is done. That story is capped. Unless we think of something else between now and the next few weeks, then yeah, I think we're done on the Micra story and it's ready to move on to the next home. So thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe and all the usual stuff. And hopefully someone else can enjoy this. But for now, we'll leave you with a montage of all the best bits of what we've done with this so far. And yeah, I hope you like this little episode. It's just a bit of a sit-down chat, really. Maybe we could do some more of these because they're pretty easy to do. All I need is a tripod, some mates, and a cup of tea. That's it, really. That's it. So yeah, thanks for watching, and we'll see you again soon.